Welcome to the Plant-Centered and Thriving Podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Kitchens.
Welcome to the show, Plant-Centered listener. I am so happy you are here today. Okay, have you ever known someone who has made fun of vegans or given people who eat plant-based a hard time? Maybe you were one of these people. Well, today I am talking to someone who that used to be her. Exactly, to a T. She used to give vegans, plant-based eaters a hard time. She couldn't understand why you would eat that way. And it's amazing how we can completely change our tunes and turn a 180. And when we think, I could never go plant-based, or I could never give up meat, or I could never give up cheese, all of a sudden we're on the other side of that. And that is who I'm talking to today. So before I introduce our guest today, which was just such a fun conversation. Oh my goodness, Delanie brought so much energy today. I'm really excited for you to listen to this conversation. Before we get to that though, y'all, I did something this weekend that I haven't done in a very, very long time, like pretty much since childhood, and I went camping. Like camping out in the woods in a pop-up camper. We didn't have electricity or anything like that, but it was different. It was fun. It was exciting. It was something new. It was actually, we had dog set for a couple a while back, and this was their thank you to us, was to gift us their camper, like their pop-up camper for the weekend. And it was really fun. So if you ever gone camping, you know what I'm talking about. It's an adventure, but you also have to prepare for a lot of things. So one thing that I came away from this trip with, and I wanted to share with you, is that we did these like foiled meals where before we left, we chopped up a bunch of peppers and onions, and we crumbled up a bunch of like Impossible meat, or like basically just like vegan beef. And we put it in these like foil pouches that we created, threw in some taco seasoning, mixed it all together, wrapped them up tight, and then brought them with us and cooked them on the grill. And we brought some tortillas and some vegan cheese, and we had those for dinners, and it was really good. I was like, I kind of want to do this at home. So just something to think about if you're going camping this summer. It was a really fun thing to do. But if you're an experienced camper, I'm sure you like know all the bells and whistles of like how to go camping and make it really efficient. So that was really fun. And something else that I wanted to share with you is that we launched our course last week on Thursday, June 15th. And y'all, it's just, you all are so supportive and incredible. I just want to say thank you for your support and encouragement. It was just such an incredible launch. So if you're interested in learning more about it, it's called Plant-Based in 30 Days. And it's designed to help really anybody go plant-based in 30 days. Of course, you can take as much time as you need, but I designed it to help people, especially for health reasons, where they have felt, or maybe you have felt a pull to go plant-based for a while. You've heard about the benefits of going plant-based. Maybe your doctor is talking to you about starting you on medications for high cholesterol or type 2 diabetes, whatever that is, but you want to make some lifestyle changes first. This course is for you. I also talk a lot about meal planning and meal prepping, so I have had a lot of already plant-based eaters buy the course who are looking to just get more organized in the kitchen. And then we have a lot of fun bonus modules in there as well. We talk about what to do around the holidays when you're plant-based or vegan. We talk about how to eat out. I actually walk you through it was a pretty challenging menu locally that I found, where it's very catered to a standard American diet. And so I walk you through, if this menu was presented to you, how can we make sure that you're not just eating a side salad and French fries, but let's piece some things together so that you can have a really hearty meal yourself. So we also have like a gut health section, a lot of great bonus modules in there to supplement your journey with the core things that I teach on how to go plant-based step by step. So I'm really thrilled for it. And if you're interested, like I said, we have a link below where you can learn more about it. Also, Katie, I know I'm speaking for Katie, and I know she would agree with this because we've been talking about it. We've been reading your testimonials because we are also giving away a free course, a scholarship to the course, to a one podcast listener. And we have a form. It's still available until the end of June, where you can fill it out, share your story on why this course would be really beneficial for you to take. So we're gifting that to one podcast listener. And oh my goodness, Katie and I, we've been reading your stories, and not gonna lie, it has brought us, even thinking about it, it has brought us to tears. So thank you so much for just being vulnerable y'all have gone through a lot, and we just thank you so much for sharing your heart. It's gonna be hard to pick one person, I'm gonna tell you that much. So thank you so much for just sharing. We really appreciate you in this community, and here I am getting teary-eyed talking about it. So thank you for your vulnerability, like I said. So you have until the end of June to enter to qualify to win for the scholarship for the course. All right, so let me introduce you to today's guest. So like I said, her name is Delanie Fisher, and she's actually a professional podcaster. She's also a serial entrepreneur and a vegan advocate. But let me tell you, she was not always a vegan advocate. Delanie is the founder and CEO of the Minimalist Business Consultancy, where she supports mental health and wellness professionals with business and career growth. She's the co-host of the chart-topping podcast Self-Helpless that has garnered millions of downloads, and her background is in the entertainment industry and working as a comedian, a writer, and a producer. She credits going vegan to changing her life, which I know a lot of us can relate to, not only in terms of improved mental and physical health, but also massive business growth. I'm telling y'all, Delanie brings the energy today, so I'm really excited for you to listen to this episode and also listen to someone who is so outspoken of how she was pretty anti-vegan plant-based eating and how her mindset and her life completely shifted. So please join me in welcoming Delanie to the show. I really hope you enjoy this one. Delanie, I'm thrilled to have you on the podcast today. Can you kind of just give me an idea of where you're from and what you do? I have a little idea, but...
Absolutely. So nice to be here, Ashley. Thank you for having me. I've been loving your podcast. So what I do currently, I'm the co-host of the Self-Helpless podcast, which is a comedic personal growth podcast. And then I am the founder and CEO of the Minimalist Business Consultancy, where I help mental health and wellness professionals scale their businesses while prioritizing their own self-care and mental health, because I know a lot of practitioners tend to put themselves on the back burner. So that is the big focus of my consultancy. And then I'm also just a creator. I like to paint and write and make things. I've written, movies and scripts in the past. So I'm one of those people that I have no idea where I'm going to be in 5 years. And I kind of love that.
Yes.
I stopped trying to I've always wanted to put myself in a box and stay there and be okay, I figured myself out. Yep. But it never goes that way. I'm you know what? I do a few things, but those are the main things I'm doing right now.
Well, I love it. Well, I think it's good to always be open to evolving on your journey, because there are so many things that we can do. So why just do one when we can maybe do more?
Exactly. I'm too excited. I want to try everything. So
I
have to do it in a very structured way. But I like to play.
Yep. Okay. Is that painting on behind you? Did you paint that?
I did. Yes.
Very nice. Cool.
Thank you. I love minimalist art and just all that kind of stuff. I like all the woo-woo stuff or pulling oracle cards. I'm I'm
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Awesome. I think that's wonderful. I got some oracle cards actually over here to my left and some incense. It's not burning right now, but it's just nice to have, throughout the day.
Just delicious.
Yeah. And we'll include Delanie's podcast, so they're included in the show notes. If you want to check them out, feel free to do that. I know that you will be entertained, get some laughs, and also be educated as well. So a whole mixture of things.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so Delanie, about your plant-based vegan journey, I'm curious to kind of hear more about that and really just how it started and what was going on before where you decided to finally kind of make that leap.
Oh, such a good question. So I've been vegan for about 5 years now, and what was going on in my life at that time? First of all, I want to say I did not come out of the womb vegan. This was not a concept I was born into. I ate meat, dairy, eggs every meal. I didn't meet my first vegan person until I was 18 or 19 in college, and I really thought that lifestyle was just full of deprivation. I thought it was only for people who made their own kombucha and didn't wear deodorant. You know what I mean? I believed all those stereotypes. And so this was all new to me. And at the time before I made this change, I had just been diagnosed with Hashimoto's thyroiditis. So my thyroid was not working properly. I had always struggled with IBS and leaky gut syndrome issues for about a decade. on and off for my whole life. And then I had acne as well. I had gone on Accutane twice, once when I was 15, and then another time 10 years later when I was 25. The first time it worked, the second time it did not. And I was heartbroken. Like, imagine having like pretty clear skin for 10 years and then it comes back in your like mid 20s. And I was just overwhelmed. Like, when I really think about that period of time, I was just so overwhelmed by all the what seemed like very contradictory information in like the health and wellness space. I didn't know what doctor to listen to or nutritionist or anybody. Like, everybody seemed to have different ideas of what the most optimal, health decision was. And I had tried a plant-based diet in my early 20s, but I didn't have the same connection to it that when I did this, like when I was 28. A lot of people were trying it as like a fad, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll get some abs or something. I'll try this for a little bit. I did not stick with it. It was not, I knew it was a temporary thing. But then when I actually looked into it and I went vegan, I was like, oh, I get this now, and I'm never going back. So that's where I was before I made the shift.
So many things were going on in your life. And I feel like every person who goes vegan or plant-based, they're always like, this is not the life I was expecting to live. It just happened. And here we are.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
So, and I feel like a lot of people, even listening, because I know a lot of our listeners really struggle with, like you're saying, IBS, leaky gut, acne, or they're just like have like levels, different blood work related levels that they're really struggling with. And their doctor, maybe one doctor's telling them one thing, another doctor's telling them another thing, or they see something on social media, but then something else contradicts that. And so how did you finally figure out, especially maybe after that first time going plant-based, like, okay, this is like the best way to live for me?
Yes, I actually remember the exact weekend that I decided this. So a few years prior to making this change, I had adopted like a very minimalist lifestyle. I really loved learning about that concept. I had like read the books and documentaries and Marie Kondo'd my life up, and I was loving it. I was really feeling the benefit of this alternative lifestyle change of minimizing my stuff. I had more focus. I had more energy. So I feel like I was very open to another alternative lifestyle change. So I think that was really important, that I had already reaped the benefits of something a little bit like not so mainstream already. And so at the time, I was just starting to co-host the Self-Helpless podcast with my friends. I think maybe we'd been doing it maybe a year, less than a year. And the whole concept of that show in the beginning was we were trying to figure out what worked for us when it comes to personal growth and habits and health and productivity and all of that stuff. And I just remember feeling so frustrated about the food health stuff. Like, I think we had several different experts on at that point. They were kind of saying different things, and I just like wanted to problem solve for myself. I hate feeling stuck in that like indecision, overwhelm phase. And I just like to have an answer. I'm like that kind of person. And so my husband went out of town, or he was my boyfriend at the time. He went out of town for the weekend, and I decided to just binge everything, like as much information as I could find about optimal human health, basically. I watched TED Talks and read articles. I watched documentaries, and I watched it from all sides, vegan stuff and keto and this and meat and all that stuff. And I got to be honest, like all paths kept leading me back to plant-based. It seemed to have the most evidence. It ticked all of my own personal value boxes as well. It was like, okay, so what seems to be great for human health is also great for the environment and animals and like prevention of disease and like all these things. So to me, it felt like a no-brainer, really. And it never always felt that way, but I had never actually dedicated time to look into it. And so that was what really made the decision. And from there, I just eased into it. When my husband came home, I was like, okay, so I'm vegan now, but please don't tell anybody. It's like, I don't know how this is going to go. I'm nervous about people's judgment, to be honest. I don't want to announce anything on my podcast, and then maybe what if I change my mind? I look like I'm flip-flopping all over the place. But that is when I made that decision. It was very personal. I was completely by myself. I didn't have any influence. Like, my husband wasn't around, no friends or family. It was just me. And I think that was a really important moment and something to note too.
Yeah. I feel like sometimes that's what it takes. Like you're talking about when you were kind of in that wishy-washy phase of like, what am I going to do? That creates so much confusion and clutter, the opposite of Marie Kondo, in our heads, it's so hard to make a decision on, okay, what is actually going to be best for me when there's like just all this noise going on. It sounds like it took your boyfriend going away, like being alone in your house to finally figure it out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it was, I think the struggles in the beginning were very much like just trial and error about like what kind of products to buy and what to eat. I was still kind of trying to cook at that time. I hate cooking. I don't really cook now. I outsource all that if I can.
Great.
But I was like, I just don't really know kind of where to start. And so I just started really simple of just trying to kind of do one swap at a time. Like I just, I go to the store and I'm like, okay, I haven't found my favorite plant-based milk yet. I'm going to buy a couple versions and see what I like the best. And so it was just kind of like easing into it, but knowing that I was here to stay this time. I wasn't going to be dipping out. I was too convinced like this is going to be an awesome decision for me. And it absolutely was.
That's so exciting. Yes. It's like you weren't doing this for the abs this time. This was a completely different reason. Yeah.
The abs are just a bonus.
Sure. Yes.
Exactly.
Well, I think that's helpful too, because someone recently had said, I had said something about like, what's a tip to kind of simplify going plant-based? And someone said, one, basically reiterating, keep it simple, but every meal does not have to look like this like lavish Instagram picturesque type meal. It can be so simple. It doesn't have to be overcomplicated. And it sounds like that's how you kind of started approaching it, like not going too wild, but like easing into it to make it actually work for yourself long term.
Oh my gosh, exactly. And I think if I could go back in time, because this is how I truly feel now, I wish I didn't think of it as like this crazy, hard, life-altering decision. To me, I'm just buying different brands of the same things I used to eat. I'm just buying different brands and sometimes different ingredients, but they're all like, at the same stores and restaurants I go to and all that stuff. And so I wish I could tell my like younger self, like, just think of this as like, you're changing laundry detergents. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, go to the store, instead of buying Tide, you're buying the Ecos brand or whatever it's called. And that is truly how I feel. I'm like, I'm still buying meatballs. I'm just buying the plant-based meatballs. I'm still making spaghetti.
Yep.
And if I knew that in the beginning, I think there would have been like less nerves and resistance around it, because my assumption was that it's hard. I'm going to feel deprived. I'm not going to know what to do. And it hasn't all been easy. For sure. Like my biggest pain point, and continues to be, it was back then and it still is now, is just the social stuff. It's being the only vegan in the room, the only vegan at the wedding, the only vegan that's being asked questions about, like the only person at a party being asked questions about what is on your plate and why. That feels the most draining. But other than that, the logistics and how I feel about it are awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Gosh, I know so many people listening right now can relate to that, of just feeling really isolated, almost like you're on an island when it comes to being plant-based or vegan, and all these questions or maybe judgments are coming at you, or maybe even genuine curiosity, but it still can be a little exhausting, and you kind of feel like this outlier.
Yes, exactly. It's like I have to mentally prepare when I'm going to be in social situations.
Yeah.
Not all of them. All the close people in my life, they know I'm vegan now. It's been like 5 years. They are so lovely to me about it. They will bring vegan options for me. If I come to their house, they have that. Like, I've gotten so much support, but it didn't always start out that way, because, I became this new version of myself. People had to get used to that, especially as the person that used to like, down 3 slabs of ribs in one sitting. They were like, what is happening here? Where did my friend go?
Yes.
So I just take some adjustments. But when I'm meeting new people, I do have to like mentally prepare for the questions and like just the energy that I'm going to maybe receive.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I think that's really helpful. And honestly, the whole like laundry detergent example, I think that I'm going to use that example, by the way, because that really is a great example. It's like you go to like the milk section of a grocery store. Instead of buying the cow's milk, you're just going like one door over to buy the plant-based milk. And the same with cheeses and meatballs. Like you said, it's really not that different. But I feel like we make it to be this huge deal in our heads. Or maybe society makes it a big deal.
Yes, absolutely. And you know what I realized when I started, because I still ate at all like the same restaurants and stuff. And I noticed that the vegan options had already been there. They'd always been there. I just never actually noticed or looked for those.
Yeah.
And so the first time I like went to my favorite sushi place and I was like, I'm vegan now. Got anything for me? And it was like, yeah, we got this roll. You can do this side. And I'm like, wait a minute. Have you always had this? And they're like, yeah, it's been on the menu since day one. Like, I just never knew. right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes because you're just not looking for it, I didn't think there'd be a lot of variety or options, but as soon as I shifted my focus, I was like, oh my gosh, there's so much I can do with this. And I
Yes.
don't have to feel so isolated. I can still go out with my friends and 9.9 times out of 10 find something great on the menu, you
Yep.
know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's true though. Like once you start actually looking for it, you'd be surprised how many options there are out there. I mean, sometimes it takes a little extra effort, but they're there. And usually, especially restaurants, usually they'll go above and beyond to make sure you do have something because you don't want to be the one like sipping water while everyone else is enjoying this like meat meal.
Right, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So it's all been, and I realized, like, I live in Los Angeles. We have incredible vegan restaurants out here. There's so much variety, but I've also traveled a lot as a vegan, and I've been in the like middle of nowhere, Minnesota, and like Rockford, Illinois, and all these places. And I go to the store, they got lots of vegan options. I go to their restaurants, they have vegan options. Even if you have to like modify something, like I'll get this without cheese or whatever. I've been so shocked by how much more simple it's been than I really thought it would
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's really great. So going back to the Hashimoto's piece,
Yes.
what was kind of the first advice that you were receiving by the doctor? What did they recommend when you were first diagnosed?
Yeah. So I remember they said, so I just want to let you know, you have Hashimoto's. Does it run in your family? That kind of thing. And I was like, yes, like it does run in my family. I've been concerned about that. And she immediately said, I want to put you on medication. Like you're going to have to take a pill every day for the rest of your life. And I was like, oh, can I? And I told her I was actually on the brink of making some really big lifestyle changes, and going vegan was one of them. I was like in the midst of that. And I said, can you give me a few months? Like, can I come back in, I don't know, 6 months or something? Like, would I be okay if we waited that long? And she said, yeah, I'd like to see you. I think she said 3 or 4, maybe. It wasn't even 6. I'd like to see you back. But if your levels are not at a better point, I really advise you going on medication, or it can cause some issues, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And so during that time, I had made the decision to go plant-based, and also I had gone off of hormonal birth control. I'd been taking the birth control pill for like almost 15 years probably by that point.
Yep.
And so they just happened to happen like simultaneously. And I went back, and I can't remember if it was like 3-5 months later, and I came back, all my levels were completely normal. And she was
Wow.
like, you don't have Hashimoto's. Like, it's not registering that you have that. And so I told her what I had been doing.
Oh my
And she was
gosh.
like, okay, well, we're just going to watch it. Like, you don't need medication at this time. We're just going to keep an eye on this, on your checkups and stuff. I've never had any issues since. 0. So I went from having it to not having it. I mean, whether that's called reversing it or going in remission,
Yeah.
not there. And it really does run in my family. But also diets run in your family too. So you just like, not, I wonder if they had made certain changes, if they would have gotten the same results that I just got
Yeah.
by these shifts. But yeah, that was what happened with the Hashimoto's.
I mean, how did you feel when you went and got your labs checked and they were like, oh yeah, you don't have it anymore?
Wild. I mean, really, like, and it makes me think like, okay, what else is in my control that I didn't think was in my control?
Yeah.
Like what else, like it kind of opens your eyes of like, if this could be a possibility, what else could I be capable of? Whether it's my health or my business or my relationships or anything else, I just felt like, it was a really surreal feeling,
Yes.
because you've been told that you're going to need a pill for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden you don't. And there was no recommendations on their end to say, you know what, you could try to avoid having a pill for the rest of your life, XYZ. That was all burdened on me to figure out.
Yeah. Which is a little infuriating sometimes that there isn't
Yes.
more information provided related to diet, lifestyle, and how it can impact your health.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
So that was a mind-blowing moment there. And
yeah.
to be honest, like I gotta be honest, I take what doctors say with a grain of salt now. I
Yep.
really do. Like I've had too many instances where they've suggested something and then a holistic approach actually cured it or made something better, that I'm very hesitant. I always take a holistic or as much as I can a natural approach first before I kind of go last resort to like what
Yep.
the doctor usually tells me. I gotta be totally honest about that.
Yeah. Well, because oftentimes it is the last resort. Like, hey, this is like your only option. You're like, but is it? There aren't really other
Right.
options out there.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
And I know even for you listening, and I'm sure some of you can relate to this, you're like, oh, this is my story where the doctor said, hey, you're going to go on statins, or hey, you got to go on X medication. And you're like, wait, can you just give me like 3 to 6 months to try and figure this out? And then you go back and you're like, the doctor's like, no, you actually don't need it anymore, which is incredible.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. And you know what? I realized I was having such horrible digestive issues when I was 15, and my parents took me to this like holistic specialist who like really helped my gut issues by doing like acupressure, and he gave me some supplements, and he put me on a vegan diet when I was 15. I didn't know that's what it was, but he gave my mom a list of like, here's what to eat. I felt so much better during that period of time. And I stopped having those issues, but then I like went away to college and I started eating whatever. I just didn't think that had a direct impact on my gut. So I figured, oh, what was it about that magic, man, that made my, I think this is magic touch that made my gut feel so much better. Not what I was putting into my body every single day at every single
right.
It just wasn't connecting at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had that experience when I was a teenager too, just not thinking about it or reflecting on that.
Yeah, I know. I agree. Like, I think even growing up for myself too, like that connection wasn't made that, hey, diet or what you're putting into your body does have an impact on how you feel. And I feel like it's becoming more and more popular, but even like with healthcare providers or even in our education system, like I think the more that people can make that connection, then we're more equipped to make choices that serve us better versus just kind of going with the flow and eating whatever, that type of thing.
Exactly. And I, as a podcaster for almost 6 years, I have stated on the show in the early phase, like, I don't understand the vegan thing. I tried it. Wasn't for me. It makes no difference. I was that person. So when people find out that I'm vegan and they say stuff like, I could never do that, or like, bacon, or like all those canned responses that we've all had as people who don't do vegan stuff. I have publicly stated these things very publicly to thousands of people that I don't think there's a big connection between what I'm eating and how I feel or my skin or anything like that, to being completely opposite. So I hope that is like the ultimate permission for people, that you are allowed to change your mind. I've had to give myself that grace to show up and say, hey guys, I was wrong. I do not believe that anymore. It actually makes me feel very uncomfortable that my old views and thoughts are still live on podcasts that are being spewed to thousands of people. Yeah. But I also think it's important to showcase that humans can change their mind and they can like evolve into other things. And so that has been very hard for me. Like a lot of people, this is a private decision and you are going through it privately about what you're going to do. I was airing that to all kinds of strangers, Yeah. And now I'm doing this. So yeah, it's been a very weird process, but I'm like, wow, I hope I'm impacting people. I hope they're tuning into my new opinion and belief and results versus the old me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's great too. Like kind of reflecting on that journey for yourself, but then also kind of sharing that experience with other people to say like, hey, it is okay to change. It's okay to maybe have those views 5 years ago, but to have different views now. Like there is nothing wrong with that because we grow, and that's part of being human.
Exactly. I really felt that way at that time. I really did. I believed it. And now I feel this way. And like, I know myself well enough to be like, okay, I've been doing this for 5 years. Like, this is me forever. I am never going back. I'm not changing. I didn't feel that conviction back then, but I felt like that was kind of what I was supposed to do and what I was supposed to say. And actually, I was telling you before we kind of even started recording that I have felt a lot of nerves talking about this stuff on my own platform because, I'm usually the only vegan or the only vegan guest. And I know that most of our listeners probably are not plant-based or vegan. And I know I never want people to feel judged by me or like the decisions I'm making. I totally get it from all angles because I've been at all angles. But I get scared talking about this on my own platform because I'm nervous of like any negative impact it might make on the show or the team, or like, are people going to stop tuning in because they hate my viewpoint? And I'm just so thankful that you're having me on because I'm so passionate about this and I do want to share about this, but I also want to share about this in spaces where I know people are a lot more receptive and maybe work my way up to talking about it, on my own stuff,
Yes. We are very grateful to be a stepping stone because I feel like that is what it takes, especially when you're starting to talk about it more. It is scary. And especially when you had different viewpoints, way back when, which I feel like most people listening can relate to that as well. It's like, I used to say I could never give up cheese, or I used to maybe make fun of that vegan that I would go out to eat with or whatever. Like, I feel like most of us can relate to that at some level.
Oh, totally. I mean, I was straight up mean to the only vegan person I knew. Like, I didn't realize I was being mean. I thought I was just being like joking and funny. But like, I was rude,
Yeah.
and I didn't. And then it's so interesting how life teaches you lessons because now I get those same comments directed at me. I was like, oh my gosh, I really owe this person an apology because now I know what this feels like on the receiving end, and it is not cool.
Yep.
But I've been that person when people come at me with all kinds of stuff, I was like, look, I get it. I said those exact same things. I know exactly how you feel. I've been there. I was eating meat and dairy for 28 plus years of my life.
Yep.
I got you. I get it.
Have you received much pushback? I mean, in addition to people like asking questions or anything like that, but...
Yeah, I think more in social situations where it's like, okay, like more for me, whatever, that kind of stuff. I'm like, okay, cool. I didn't say anything. Or I hate that, I don't know, that phrase or even stereotype where it's like, oh, if you don't know somebody's vegan, don't worry because they'll tell you kind of a thing. I'm sorry. Y'all come at me when I'm at a party. You guys come to me and ask questions. I do not bring it up. I don't like bringing it up because I don't like talking about it when I'm the only one in the room. So I'm never going to bring that shit up. Oh, I don't know if I can swear. Sorry, Ashley.
Yeah, you can.
Okay. And so when they're like, oh yeah, they're going to talk to you about it, I don't like that because it's not true. It's not true to my experience anyway. But what's so funny is I was getting a lot of questions and a little bit of pushback from family. And one of my family members, when I first said, hey, I'm going vegan, I truly felt like I was coming out with a really huge secret. Like, just so you know, I've been vegan for many months and like, this is what I do now kind of a thing. And this parent of mine was like, why are you doing that? Well, like, don't ruin everybody else's meal by telling us anything about it, right? Guess what? That's my dad, and he is now the biggest vegan I have ever met in my life. Yes, my dad and my stepmom both went vegan, I think maybe a year or so after I did. Not because of me, but because of just other things that they were looking into. Maybe I introduced the idea a little bit. But they actually listened to one of my podcast episodes with Preacher Lawson, who's a hilarious comedian.
I'm going to see him on Friday.
I love him. He's the best. He's so great.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how he went vegan and how Ed Winter's Earthling Ed was a huge inspiration for him. Who I'm so excited I'm going to be interviewing soon and I cannot wait.
Oh my gosh.
Excited.
Yes.
But so my parents tuned into that episode. They ended up watching Earthlings together and like within 48 hours they were vegan. And so it's very funny to see like the people that were giving me some of the most pushback are actually like more vegan and outspoken than I am. Like they are more passionate about it.
Yes.
So that has been a very cool snowball effect to see. Nobody else in my family or anything is vegan, but two of my parents, made that decision, and the results that they have been mind-blowing. I mean, everything from being able to like go off cholesterol and blood pressure medication, sleeping better, joint pain. My stepmom had horrible allergies like every day, all times of the year. Has no allergies anymore. Zero.
Wow.
Doesn't even have them. Like we went to there's a place called the Gentle Barn in Santa Clarita. I love that place. And we went there. She's like, oh my gosh, I forgot my allergy medication. I'm gonna be a mess. Just nothing. No reaction. They were so excited. They told me that they got one of their checkups from their doctor. They took like their blood and looked at all their levels. And they told my parents, like, you guys have the insides of if you were 30-something-year-olds. And they're 50s and 60s. Like, whatever you're doing, keep doing. Because internally, you're like 30 years old.
Wow.
Like, that's crazy, right? Like, that's crazy to think that a doctor is telling you that you are adding so many years to your life because of whatever changes that you have made.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, because Delanie, I mean, when you get old, you're supposed to have high cholesterol. You're supposed to have high blood pressure. You're
Right.
supposed to be this sickly person. No,
Yes.
it doesn't have to be that way.
Yes, exactly. And like we've been all shocked by that because I didn't even realize like what that could do for somebody, close, to 60 years old.
Right.
With that lifestyle change, like, oh gosh, well, you got like 5 decades worth of stuff. I wonder if it will do like some of the same, kind of reversing that maybe it did for me. And it did. And we were all blown away. I mean, they are so passionate about it, and I think it is because they made that decision in more like a midlife age range.
Yeah.
And I am so grateful because I'm like, I'm gonna have my parents longer on the
Yes.
planet.
Oh my gosh.
It's not just a diet. Like
Yeah.
it's your life.
Yeah, absolutely. And not only are you going to have them around longer, but they're probably going to feel better than if they were to continue going up on their statins, going up on their high blood pressure medication, probably adding more, medication to the list. Like,
Yes.
what a difference in their quality of life.
Exactly. And like you know what? If somebody was promoting a pill that did all of this stuff, we would all be taking it in a heartbeat.
Yes.
Right? Like we wouldn't even have to think about it. But because there's unfortunately still such a stigma around veganism and plant-based and whatever, dairy-free, like all that stuff, that it's there's so much resistance, and I just wish there wasn't. I wish there was I wish there wasn't so many obstacles to having like meaningful conversations with people about
Yeah.
it, but there seems to be so much resistance still.
Yeah.
And it just bums me out because I'm like, I just really feel like you're missing out, and I care about you, but I can't say that because you're just going to label me a judgy, pushy vegan.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's honestly people like you who are going out here and sharing your story, being transparent, vulnerable, saying like, hey, I didn't used to think this way 5-6 years ago, that is going to help break this stigma that we have. And it's examples of the laundry detergent that's going to make it even more relatable.
Love that.
Oh my
Like,
gosh.
I really think of it as like if I was at brunch with my girlfriends and somebody like was talking about how they had a really bad rash on their like arm or something, and I knew exactly what cream could cure the rash because I had tried it.
Yeah.
I would not even think twice to be like, hey, you should try this cream that I had. I had that same rash and it cured it, within a few days or whatever.
Yeah.
But like when I'm at brunch and they're talking about like health related issues or things like that, I don't feel like I can share the as freely as like, have you tried this thing? Have you tried
Yeah.
like replacing this product with this product? Because they can't hear it. They don't hear
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
They just hear vegan, 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 right?
Right.
So it makes me sad because I share other things freely, but I just have learned who I can share that stuff with and who I can't.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
it's a bummer because you want to help the people that you love and you want to give them options, but there's just still kind of a block there.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I know it seems like food, how we eat is just so wrapped up in our identity. It's hard when you're in the thick of it to see someone else's point of view, no matter really what it is and how they're eating. But when someone has had the success like you have had, like I have had, like I know a lot of people listening have had, it's so hard to watch others suffer when you're like, I feel like I potentially have the answer for you, but I can't quite say it because I know that there's this wall that's already up or going to be put up. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's almost like, okay, how uncomfortable do I feel like being today? If
Yeah.
I have to be super uncomfortable to bring this up, sometimes I will, depending, like if it's a family member or something, if it's a parent, I'll bring it up.
Yeah.
But if it's, a friend or an acquaintance, I'm like, I'm just not willing to be this uncomfortable for what I know is about to happen. It's just, I just have to kind of sit here quietly and bite my tongue a little bit.
Yep.
And, yeah, it's unfortunate because I really wish somebody would have been able to get through to me as early as possible. Like I really wish, instead of being rude to like my first vegan friend in college, I really wish that she would have been able to like have a conversation with me and maybe open me up a little bit, but I wasn't willing to hear it. I wouldn't have been receptive to it. And so I also think of that as like, I know that I would have wanted somebody kind of in my corner in that way. Am I willing to be that person for other people? And like the honest answer is sometimes, and sometimes not, because sometimes I just feel like I got to protect my own energy and like mental health around the topic.
Yeah. Yeah. That reminds me when I first went plant-based, you may have been the same way. It was like, everyone needs to do it. And you're kind of like on this like crusade. And then you realize not everyone is receptive to that information. So kind of got to dial it back.
Exactly. No, it is. It's a really weird, it's a weird process. I think, what is it called? Somebody coined the term like dystopia or something. Have you heard of that,
Yeah,
Ashley?
I feel like I have.
Yeah, you just like can't unsee how meat, dairy, like those industries affect everything, and how like much power they have, and how there's like milk powder and everything, and like
Oh my
all that
gosh.
stuff. And then you start looking at all the other, the products, the clothing that you wear, and you're like, oh, it's everywhere. This is such a
Yeah.
weird, it's like, yeah, it's like you cannot unsee any of this once you learn about it, once you see it. Like
Yep.
it's in every choice that we make, and it's in everything that we do.
Mm-hmm.
And one big result or like effect I wasn't expecting was the direct impact it had on my business and making more money. I know that sounds very strange, but because it helped my energy levels, like I woke up with a lot more energy, it also reduced all my decision fatigue stuff around like what to eat, when to eat, all that stuff. Like it simplified all those decisions. And of course, as business owners, we know we make a million decisions every day. And so I just had more time and energy and clarity, and I would get up and do my work like better and more effectively, which led to more money. And I was
Wow.
like, I'm really aware that it's because of how I'm feeling and the way I'm making decisions, that it's really having a direct impact on how I'm running my business. Like this affected everything,
Wow. Yeah.
way more than I thought. I could have not seen the impact it would have had prior.
Oh yeah, heck no. Well, because like before you probably weren't feeling super great, and then there's this like looming of like, okay, I got to go on medication eventually, or X, Y, and Z, and then you start changing your diet, and in turn you start feeling better, and then that energy is overflowing into your business, which is like multiplying. I mean, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, it really does. I'm just like, I'm so incredibly passionate about it. And I don't always share that. Like, I've
Yeah.
been pretty quiet for like almost 5 years. And I'm starting to feel like, you know what? I don't want to keep quiet about this anymore.
Yeah.
I really don't.
It's stifling. You feel like you're not able to be your true authentic self when you have to be quiet about something like this that really is important to you.
Exactly. And I'm
Yeah.
like, so yeah, this is like a kind of a new version of me, I guess.
Yay!
That you're seeing right now, because I have not been able to candidly talk like this in my own space.
Wow.
For just a lot of fear, a lot of fear.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're here to embrace it. So
I'm
thank
so
you.
glad.
Yeah.
I'm so glad.
And I would imagine your dad and stepmom like so appreciate having you in their corner, like just cheering them on. Like, and I'm sure even you, like the pride that you feel, like seeing them go
Yeah.
through that, and that just has to feel so good.
I can't believe, I really cannot believe that. Like my dad is probably the last person I would ever expect on the planet to go vegan, and the fact that he's like the most passionate about it is hilarious to me. Like I can see the people who are so anti-vegan, how they can flip on a dime and then be so
Yeah.
pro-vegan, because that happened in front of my eyes.
Yep.
And so no, I mean it really is like emotional, like to think about that. Like, yeah, my parents were like, you changed our life by introducing this. Like,
Yeah.
it's forever different. And
Yeah.
like, I know it's really weird to think that you might not think you're making an impact at the time, especially when it feels hard and uncomfortable, and maybe you're getting backlash for it. But like 5 years later, I look at the impact it really has made on people who know me, and also on me, like learning about it. But I also get people writing in from the podcast of like, I went vegan because of you, or I tried this because of you. And that, it's like, it's one of the best impacts I could ever want to make while I'm alive. Really.
Yeah.
As cheesy as that sounds, it is like, yeah. But I also love the fact that I could just do nothing all day. Like if I just binge watch Netflix all day, at the end of the day, I feel good, because all of the choices that I made really align with my values. Like what
Yeah.
I ate, what product I bought, whatever it is. It's just a nice way to, like, for me, it's been able to consistently keep my outlook positive in a way. Because I'm like, I didn't do anything today, but I ate those meals, and I know what that impact has on the planet and animals and my health, and that's a good day.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, there really is nothing more powerful, I feel like, than living in alignment, like making choices that you feel like truly are a reflection of you and who you are, like deep at your core.
Yeah. It's weird the like impact it's had on me spiritually,
Yeah.
and like emotionally, because I didn't feel super connected to like any of that beforehand. But when I'm like, no, I'm actually like, I used to believe, oh, I'm an animal lover and I care about the environment and I care about these things, but my actions were not reflecting that.
Yeah.
I loved my dog, but I was eating all the other animals every day, all day.
Right. Yep.
So I think I feel more connected because I'm saying the things and then I'm doing the things that back that up. And to me, that has just done wonders for like my mental health, emotional health, spiritual health. And I'm also very, very aware of the privilege I have to even have had access to the education that led to this decision and access to the resources that I have to continue making this choice. Not everybody has those things. And that fires me up even more because I'm like, where could I donate? Where could I get this message out to people who don't have those same opportunities and resources that I have? And so it's really kind of sparked like philanthropy in my life too. I was passionate about certain things and causes before, but this is like a whole new level for me.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's completely changed my life. It really has in every facet I could imagine.
Yeah. And you can see how it has the potential to impact not just other people, but even like our world in general. Like it's just so far, it's so far reaching versus like the decisions that we make. It doesn't just impact us. And I think that's kind of what a lot of us uncover as we're going on this journey is like, wow, this isn't just about me. Like this has the potential to impact a lot of other things happening in this world.
Yes, it makes, for me, it makes me feel like less powerless. Like there's so many issues in the world. There's so much going on, but I know that these simple kind of daily decisions, they are doing something, and it makes me feel more hopeful and more confident to do more.
Yep.
Because if I felt like I have no control, I can't make a difference, I wouldn't be making some of the moves that I am making kind of behind the scenes.
Yeah, you know? Absolutely. Sweet. Delanie's making moves. I think that's awesome. Well, so to kind of like close it down a little bit, we covered so much, and I really do appreciate you being so vulnerable and just sharing your story. And I'm glad that we've got to be a part of it. But is there any piece of advice or kind of anything in summary that you want to give the listener kind of as we close down that you feel like would be beneficial?
Yeah, I would think that the same thing kind of comes back to me of like, you don't have to think of this as like a really hard life altering thing. What if it was easy? Like what if it was simple as changing your detergent? What kind of choices would you make if it was that easy for you?
Yeah.
And just one thing at a time, like one product at a time if it's too overwhelming. And find community. Oh my gosh. Honestly, just having this conversation with you, Ashley, makes me realize like, oh yeah, I'm not the only vegan on the planet. Or, you know, right. Even sometimes I feel that way. Find community. And for me, I used to be on social media. I'm not anymore. But when I was, I loved following all the vegan people, all the plant-based people, because I would get such great recommendations for products and recipes and stuff like that. Find the people who are going to be really honest about what things taste like, or maybe your tastes align. And so that'll help speed the process up too, of like finding the most delicious plant-based products. And I like to be very honest about like, yeah, this didn't taste good. This tasted great. Let's try this. So maybe those few things, hopefully those are helpful and actionable for people tuning in.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was incredibly helpful. And like I said, I'm going to use that laundry detergent example because I just think that is fantastic. Yeah. So aside from your podcast, which are listed in the show notes, where else can people connect with you if they want to do that?
Yes, you can find everything at my website, delaniefisher.com. My business stuff is on there. I also have another podcast called the Minimalist Business Podcast. So if you are in the process of building your dream business, dream career, that's a private show you can get for free on my website. But yeah, everything is there. A lot of free resources and free tips there. And I would love to have you over there. And thank you so much for having me. This was like, I love this conversation and being able to connect about this, like truly.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime. I loved having this conversation as well. And I think it's always good for other people to hear the stories of what other people have gone through to become plant-based, and even still the struggles that they're facing today, because it's not like it's without struggles. So I appreciate everything you shared. Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate you, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Delanie, thank you again for coming on. Appreciate you as well.
Thank you so much.
Until next time, keep thriving.